Zach Garza is a chef. Okay, and after spending his youth here, he went to New York, New Orleans, Park City, Dallas, and Lubbock. He earned a culinary arts certificate and Associate of Occupational Studies from the CIA, Culinary Institute of America, in 2008 and 9, and then a Bachelor of Science in Restaurant, Hotel, and Institutional Management from Texas Tech, 2011. And then in 12, he served as the sous chef for the opening of Now. And before rejoining the CIA staff as executive chef, he also, you may have seen him as chef de cuisine at Primero Cantina de Fruteria and Monterey, and he served as the executive sous chef at the clubs of Cordillera. He is going to tell you all about cooking food after that charcuteria thing. Give it up for Zachary Garza! Hope I got
that. All right. To the organizers, I just want you guys to know this is really sadistic. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it, but this is kind of twisted. Speaking in public is not generally an issue for me, but I like to go on and on and on and on, and you guys aren't letting me do that today. So bravo to you, and I'm really glad that I got to follow Lori. I think that what I'm about to share with you ties right into what she's talking about, and I respect and admire her message greatly. Yeah. So I wrote a speech, and then I practiced, and I thought it sounded kind of robotic, so I got rid of them. And it just occurred to me, Chuck Palahniuk, the author in Invisible Monsters, he said once, the only way to find true happiness is to risk being completely cut open. So here it goes. Okay. Yeah. So political implications aside, although don't forget entirely about the political implications, this meme speaks immensely to me. We are all pretty insignificant. Life for each of us is relatively insignificant when you think about it on that scale or this scale, compared to the incredible monsters that lived millennia ago. Geological time and those sorts of concepts sort of make my daily musings seem pretty insignificant. That all occurred to me, and then I thought about Doc Brown and his little lesson about time-space. And when we're talking about time-space, he taught us about infinite parallel universes and all of these infinite possibilities out there, and each one is unique in and of itself. And then you start to think about that life. This is me and my brother and sister when we were very young. And all of a sudden, on that big macro scale, everything is so insignificant. And on the micro, you realize that the uniqueness of time and space creates significance in our lives. And somewhere between the time that last photo was taken and now, I realized this. And I've come to realize that really all that there is in life, and this is kind of what I think Lori was talking about, is the impressions that we make on one another and the impressions that are left on us by others. This is our uniqueness in time-space. I'd like to relate that to art and creativity and life as art. So my art is food, and most people think of the artist brooding in his kitchen late at night to create the next great flavor combination or design the next great plate. But it was this woman, my grandmother, and her famous paella, that first taught me that food as art was not so much about the food product itself, but really about the experience in time-space that it creates, the way that it can bring people together. So to put this in tangible terms, this was a plate that I created for a Southtown Supper Club dinner. A group of guys down in Lavaca, they don't live here anymore, used to host a dinner several times a year. They would invite their friends, and this was one of the plates that I put together. And I'd put a bunch of time into the flavoring and the ingredients and the composition of the plate. But this is what it looked like on the table. Pretty insignificant, in the cosmos and compared to dinosaurs. But when we give that plate context in time-space, like this, then we really experience the art of food. And to me, this isn't just about food, and we'll get to that later. But really, in this moment, it was about the connections between the two people. Actually, this is my friend Julia, who I met on that night, and we are still friends to this day. So, another illustration here. This is a platter of soft-shell crab that we actually ate at the Hot Wells Hotel ruins, probably 4 years ago. And we used to go out on Sundays, and our friend Justin would host us all out there to gather the bounty from his garden and pair it with whatever little items we might have brought. And that's where it started. Well, it turned into this idea to raise funds for the Hot Wells Conservancy and to share the incredible space that is there with everybody. And the very first Hot Wells Conservancy dinner we hosted, and that was my plate that we presented. And the idea was that I was going to roll out this paper, and there was a little intermission in dinner, and we were going to roll out this paper and actually plate that dish in front of everyone. Well, it sounded great in theory. In practice, it took like 30 minutes to get the paper out, and everybody was kind of bored with it. And it didn't really have the effect that I wanted. But I guarantee you, and you know what? Mike Casey was there, I think, that night, so he might be able to tell you later. I bet you nobody remembers the boredom of sitting and waiting for that paper to come out, because this was what we were all enjoying. It was just incredible. And if you haven't been there, you really need to go. It's transformative. It takes you to another place. And the following year, another friend of ours sort of took that idea and ran with it, and he turned it into this really incredible food and wine festival, and the experience was completely different the next year. And again, there were all these incredible chefs and cocktail artists and musicians plying their wares, if you will, but it wasn't about that for me. What I remember most from that night was sitting around some weird light sculpture that God knows who made, but it was really cool, and we were sitting around it, and I was talking with all of my friends at the end of the night, talking about how much fun we had had. And to me, that was the art of the evening. So to go back to the political implications of the very first slide, without getting too political, this is Officer Aaron Moses of the Wichita, Kansas Police, and he was recently lauded for being a part of an effort to bring together some Black Lives Matter organizers with the police department in a new way to really focus on bringing community together. And so my message here is that guy is living his art, okay? And he understands and appreciates the power of the uniqueness of a moment in time-space. So this is my call to action to all of you. Take a detour in life when it presents itself. Do something that makes an impact and leaves an impression on others around you. And stop and take a minute and just enjoy the impressions that are being left on you by others. Live your art, let your art be your life, and do it the hardest you can. Thank you.
Don't go away. Don't go away. Yes, okay. So tell us a little bit, you talked about detours. That was deep, but that was wonderful. That was beautiful, right? Do you all feel very shallow now when you're like, our foam's over? So you talked about taking detours in life. What's a detour you took? You were at the CIA, I mean, you were at the Pearl when it first opened at NAO, then you left. Talk maybe about a detour that really changed your life.
Where does it start? Probably the biggest one or the most significant one in my life was, I was in New Orleans. I was studying at Tulane University, studying math and psychology. Yeah, Tulane, roll wave or whatever. But I didn't finish, so I'm not really an alumnus. But that was the detour that I made. I realized I was thinking I'd be a researcher. I was studying math and psychology. I thought, I'll be a researcher. I love numbers. People are so interesting. And then I kind of realized that sounds really boring to me. I'm going to sit at a desk for the rest of my life. And, power to the people who that stimulates. But I'm too much of a people person. And I really love creating those moments in other people's lives. And so I dropped out of school, and I started working for Emeril Lagasse at the original Emerils there on Tchoupitoulas and Julia in New Orleans. And that changed the entire trajectory of my life.
So when people come into restaurants, obviously for you it's an art form and it means so much more. But a lot of times people are just in restaurants, whatever else is going on in their life. Like, what do you see them missing about that relationship or that moment?
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I think it translates to your life, it translates to your business as much as it does to art. The businesses that are really successful are the ones that realize that you're not just selling a product like a plate of steak, you're selling the experience that goes along with it. And I think that the tendency is, as Lori kind of talked about, to not connect, to not plug into that. And that's really what I hope for everyone, is that we can stop and appreciate that a little bit more.
Let's talk just real quick about Latin American cuisine. Oh, the sign's up. I got to let you go in just a second.
Okay.
But let's talk, with all that entails, so many things, right? But for you, if you could say one thing to America, what's having its Latin American cuisine like love affair finally, what to you is the core of that or the most beautiful thing about it?
Wow, that's a deep question.
It's as big as a continent, y'all.
We don't have that much time. I think that it's an appreciation for cultures that maybe have been forgotten for some time by the rest of the world, or maybe had never been discovered by parts of the world. So it is a new and novel thing, and I think that's what people are really latching onto. I think that the flavors and ingredients are just so vibrant, and it ties back to that appreciation of the experience around the food. Latin American culture is so communal, and the table is at the heart of that. And so everyone, I think, and that's what we try to do with that. I'm sorry, I don't want to plug now too much, but that's what we try to do at Now. We encourage everyone to eat in a family style, and really just let us take care of them and transport them to a different place and a different time.
That's a plug for San Antonio, too. And is that where we find you at Now?
At Now Latin Gastro Bar. We're at the Pearl, part of the Culinary Institute of America.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Please give them a big round of applause.